Hi there, my name's Maria Thomson and I'm one half of London Edinburgh Holdings. The other half is my husband Gordon, and I'm here today to tell you how to grow your pipeline. Woo! And what I'd like to say is that none of us have come to this property development journey as newborn babes. We've all got history, all got experiences that make us the developers that we are. So I've been married to Gordon for 33 years and I have 4 children. And I have gone through every worst case scenario with my beloved man, and except infidelity. So there is nothing that we have not thrived in together. So he was made partner in a law firm at 23, and I made partner within a year of qualifying. Our partners were Des Brown, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defence in Tony Blair's government, Ross Harper, Chairman of the Conservative Party, and Donald Dewar, who was the First Minister of Scotland. After that, Gordon and I decided to take our children travelling around the world. And when we came back, we did lots of different things. One of them, I was a stage hypnotist. Yes, he used to drive me onto the stage with Ricky Martin, My Maria. There's a whole lot of funny stories about that. Another thing that we did was we have another business, and as Claire is very good at pointing out, cash flow is essential. So what we did was we built a festival business. So we sell wood-fired pizzas at festivals. We do 60 festivals throughout the whole of Great Britain, Glastonbury to the Outer Hebrides, and in 10 years we've become one of the biggest operators. Now, this experience is essential because I'm used to having a lot of staff. With running branch offices of legal firms, and more importantly, as I say, 60 festivals in a 4-month period throughout the whole of Great Britain, it's a massive logistical exercise. And one thing I would say is that we're very lucky. People complain about staff. Except when they're living in my house, I have to say, I love them to bits. So I have a Gillian problem with my slides. So we're going to have to work this one out. And I'm going to go to football here because what we're talking about is mindset. And I'm benchmarking like IBM. So which city in the world has produced the most professional footballers? Milan, Barcelona, Munich, you'd think. Glen Buck, population 700, and I want you to listen to this, produced 50 professional footballers, including Bill Shankly. So Shankly had 2 choices, be a minor or a professional footballer. There was 10 children in the Shankly family, 5 boys, 5 girls. All 5 boys played professional football. Bill Shankly was not, he stole vegetables because they were so poor. But what he had was a strong mind, and he had one way out. So, going around festivals is great, but it wasn't for me. So I gave myself 2 choices, be old and poor, and that was really horrible. I did this whole mind thing, and it was like enough to scare anybody, or become a successful commercial to residential developer. And I totally believe that we do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. So me, as a poor, and I was a widow in it, I was just like, get the violins out. And my children never came to see me. So it was really horrible. So it was a huge spur. So this story of Glenn Buck, if something is true, you must find it across the board. And the wonderful thing about Property Sisters was I was messaging Jess Leader last night, and she said that the thing that she's focusing on is that you are the sum total of the 5 people. Now, does that not exactly say? One person from Glen Buck went to university. It's extraordinary when you think about it. And, Shankly went on, he founded and made Liverpool what it is, and they are 19 points ahead in the league at the moment. So I believe that who I hang out with is very important. So I am a proud property sister. And woo! And I absolutely credit a lot of my success to being with all of you, and I am very, very grateful. So, yes, who needs education and mentoring? Well, I was saying to Ruth, I feel ashamed when I look at this, okay, because not only was I a solicitor, I had an estate agency in Edinburgh, okay? So, that's on another one. So, this is the train station at Kingussie, which I attempted to buy, lost 15k on it. This is the co-op in Kingussie, lost 6k. That was through professional fees. I had put in successful offers, and then there was something wrong with it. In that there was a flooding issue here, and I forget what that was. It just all got too painful. So this was unsustainable. I just couldn't go on losing that kind of money and just get nothing. So I think it was Helen actually who was talking about going with your gut. So I decided that I would get back into property again. I had been in property for about 30 years. The last deal that I'd done was in 2008, which was the splitting of title. And I didn't make as much money as I wanted on that, but I didn't lose, which was a real result in those times. So I had my gut feeling that I would go, and I went to a free MSOPI course with Progressive. And as soon as I heard about commercial to residential, I went down and I went on the course. And of course, with education, everyone says, sit on your credit cards. I was like, no. I knew I needed to go for it. Now, the thing about it was it was English law, it was in Southampton, and it was going to cost me a lot of money to go down. But I listened to my gut. And after the education, I decided that Edinburgh was my golden area. This was in Edinburgh, and I had submitted an offer, and I was being successful, but the same problem with flooding arose. So I pulled out of it. However, if you see here, Edinburgh Cross Keys Inn cost 0 because I had learned to negotiate my way out of failure. And that's the two choices. You know, I can't do this unless I negotiate. Now, what I do is that Gordon and I live our lives with 10 rules that actually come from my friend Marissa Peer. And one of them is we don't take no for an answer. So one of the other ones is actually be confident. So when I went to Edinburgh with, I actually have all of my professionals believe in me and they believe in Gordon. So they are willing to work on a no-win, no-fee basis for us. So that enabled me, because I work on planning, and I always have to use a solicitor, a commercial solicitor, £250 an hour minimum. It enabled me to increase the number of offers that I made. And I have a golden rule. If I have analysed a property, I must put in an offer. Because another one of my rules, which I'm going to put up at the last bit, is don't fear rejection. It doesn't matter, you've got to be rejected. So this actually also tells another tale. Edinburgh, I decided, was my golden area. And I know it so well. But can you see, because of education, I learned strategies. So I have two strategies. I sell in Edinburgh and I keep in the Highlands. Now, the Highlands is phenomenal for serviced accommodation. The prices are low, and but the return on income is fantastic. So in the village that I live, there's 1,700 people. In the next village, it's 3,500. That 3,500 town of Aviemore gets 1 million visitors. That is a lot. And the thing about it is that is back to Gillian, know your market. Because it's actually very difficult to get development finance up there. I'll be coming to you. So this is actually, it starts to get better because I have met the lovely Michelle and the lovely girls. So, okay, so you see here, the second best property market in the world is Edinburgh. I knew that. The first best property market is Manila. So I consider Edinburgh the best property market in the world. So whilst I got myself a new commercial solicitor, I'd known him forever. And he very kindly sat down and told me that I would never get a deal. He set me up with an equity investor. That was appalling. He invested the money for the mosque, and he thought really that I should have had enough money of my own by that point. And he was extremely kind to me, but honestly, I really felt like being sick for days afterwards. It was very difficult. So this is it, Nemo's World. And you know, I didn't even notice that it had death written on the side of it. Didn't notice that. It was a cannabis factory. This is what became our garden flat. It was just appalling. So when I took this exciting development to Michelle, she said, you'll need to get some CGIs for that. And of course, the Urban Sisters were swanning about with their beautiful property. And I'm like touting this about. However, it's a Grade B listed building.
So it's the building on the side?
It's the building on the side, no. It was a very beautiful development. So it sold out within 4 days. The monitoring surveyors actually used to give me a row and they'd say, you're too close to this. You're too close to this, you're too emotional. But now they use it as a textbook development. Talking about JV partners, I was extremely lucky to find Claire. Claire Yu, and we have remained very firm friends and do business together. How I approached Claire was that I observed her from afar, and what I did was I noticed how she behaved. She'd gone there with another partner, loose partner, and she split that up with kindness and dignity and civility and all of the values and virtues that I look in for someone. So the first deal, Nemo's World, and it was a huge success. So we're starting to grow. And this is our next one. All of these are coming off all of these are actually coming off in the next couple of months. At the Brendan Quinn event, he was saying that Edinburgh is the jewel in the UK property market. And he said, if only we had purchased 2 years ago. Well, again, using negotiations, all of these are subject to planning. So this one, the architect, who again works for us on a no-win, no-fee basis, we were rejected planning for that because we had a very difficult planning officer. So what we did was, actually I went to bed for one day because I was so gutted, because it put a hole in my cash flow. We're back to that cash flow again. So my daughter, who is a magpie, I said, find me something in Edinburgh with planning. And any property developer will tell you there is nothing in Edinburgh with planning. However, she came up with this St. James Church. Now, I believe that I'm very lucky in property. I believe I'm very lucky. And actually, I've heard Ruth say the same thing, that she is lucky. And it's a good thing to believe because you become luckier. So St. James, just after we had our deal agreed, was voted the best place in, the best neighbourhood in the UK and Ireland to live. And not only is it this is actually in the best area. It's absolutely fabulous, isn't it, Claire? So that came out of not taking no for an answer. So with this, we pre-apped it, planning's back in, and actually we've reduced the price on it. This one, we put in an offer, we didn't get it, and then because of personal relationships, our estate agent / friend, in fact actually I didn't even use him for estate agency, but he kept hanging around. He just kept hanging around us and taking Gordon to these rugby doos, leaving me out. I was like, "Grrr!" Anyway, he told us that that was back on the market again. This one, that was actually Save the High Street. That one was also refused planning. I went just completely mad on social media because my village really needs it. And you see, it's got a lovely living wall. So what I did to grow was I formed partnerships for equity. I will form partnerships for experience. I've diversified to de-risk because this is commercial to serviced accommodation. And as I say, our current pipeline is circa 19.5 million. Now you need that. You need it because there is nothing sadder than a commercial developer focusing on one project because it could fall through. And I have seen people, and I know people, who have plummeted into severe depression because they have put everything into that. And actually, you know, this guy in particular has never recovered. So, yes, but I have a concluded contract. So that means that basically it's mine and I just wait on the planning coming through. And then if I don't get the planning that we have put in for, which you have to prepare yourself for, so I think I've lost a flat on that. So I've knocked £100,000 off the price. But because we've lived with this building for so long, actually I knocked money off that as well because they didn't give me one flat. But we're purchasing, those were purchased, you know, sort of like over a year ago. And Edinburgh's a rising market. So I don't have to go on bridging for these. Again, it's the negotiation skills. And I thought I was a terrible negotiator until I met Claire, and she taught me how to negotiate. Because actually, for you starting off, let me see, because this is quite important. So with this one, when Michelle talked about the person who went to her, the people who go to her with 50p in a Mars bar, I was that person. I was that person. I was like, so what I did with this one, and it's that mindset and absolute determination, I persuaded the vendors to apply and pay for planning permission. So when that came through, the value had gone up by 60,000 and they knew it and they were really annoyed. But again, you know, this was a very interesting one because it was difficult times and it's about working with people. Actually, development finance always look for something to go wrong with the developer, but in this one, our lenders went bust because they were overexposed in London, and it was on a Christmas time. So on Christmas Eve, we were waiting on the money coming through, and Claire had the money for her own development, and she said, okay, we can put all this together and hobble it together, and I believe my greatest gift is choosing the right people. And anyway, Amicus Receivers decided to support us because this was such a well-run development. So partnership is key to scaling. So this is my builder, Ross. I've known him since he was very young. He's actually 29. But when you are doing the kind of developments that I do, you need people with traditional skills. So on Nemo's World, we went over on the zinc roof, and he handmade double glazed heritage sash and case windows to bring us in under budget. Or on budget. So he has decided, he's decided that he wants to grow with us, and actually we do need a lot of support for that, and I'm very delighted Michelle supports us on that. This is Ben, he's our project manager. He worked for the largest house builders in Scotland. He has a 2-1 degree from Heriot-Watt University, 4 years, 16.5 million. That is the kind of experience that you can get when you look around the people you know. So this guy here is a very experienced developer. Now, when we're saying partnership is the key to scaling, it needn't necessarily be money. So he's actually, unfortunately, just recently lost his wife. So mortality is important to him. So what he wants is that he wants us to step in if anything happened to him to protect his boys. And so that is what partnership can be. So partnerships fund the growth. You've got your equity debt and the smart money. I think that's the thing that we should all be looking for. That's someone who has experience to give you and talents to give you, not just their money. So how I'm going to use that is I hate managing projects. So I don't want to manage serviced accommodation. So actually there are people that actually want to come in with me on that because they like to manage things. So what's Sir Alec Ferguson got to do with building a 19.5 million pipeline? Alec Ferguson, another poor Scottish laddie, actually he was a terrible footballer, but he was a good manager. He actually was a visiting professor lecturer at Harvard Business School. So what it says here, I'm going to tell you the story about the geese which fly 5,000 miles from Canada to France. They fly in V formation, but the second ones don't fly. They're subs for the first ones. And then the second ones take over, so it's teamwork. And that's what we have. So Ruth and Gillian have very similar business team to Gordon and I in that you know, Ruth and I are the shouty ones. Although Gillian was doing a fair bit of glory days today. But actually, you know, sometimes it's just hard and it's easier to let someone else take over, and it is that switching of the team. So the laser-like focus, you've got to build a team with common goals, and that does not necessarily mean you have to employ them, but mix with people who are using property to change their lives. So culture and values, this is what I learned actually from being part of the Property Sisters. We develop redundant buildings in Edinburgh and we create beautiful homes. We are sustainable developers, reducing construction industries, carbon footprint. I always de-risk. I enhance value. Now, the thing about development finance, which is something that's not often said from the investor's point of view, is you have to go through so many checks. Development finance for investors is an excellent way to go. So I'm into biophilic design, which means going with nature, bringing it in. And to grow your pipeline, you have to take massive action. So how many offers have you submitted this week? We've submitted 3 offers, and this one, we were the top offer a year ago. It fell away. This one is the fantasy bar. Just look at that. That are the views, you know. But because that's a high status property, it's the sort of thing that people from Hong Kong, etc., would be interested in investing in. So you've got to get your offers in. Got to get your offers in. Take massive action. So these are our rules that we say every morning when we wake up. Don't take no for an answer. Don't fear rejection. Handle criticism. Do the thing you don't want to first. Hard one for women. Do not judge yourself. Praise yourself. Be confident and get those professionals to get on board. Leverage your emotions. Hack your mind. You are enough. Hit the bar, girls.